Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to teach you all another grammar chapter. So let's begin today's chapter. Well, you can see three apples on the screen. The three apples are of different sizes. So we can say that the first apple is a big apple, the second one is bigger than the first one, and the third one is the biggest of all the apples. So, when we compare a noun to another noun, it is known as comparison. So, over here, the big apple is called the positive degree, the bigger apple is called the comparative degree, and the biggest apple is called the superlative degree. So, from this, we are going to study today's chapter that is called Degrees of Comparison. Well, before we start the chapter, let's just revise what is an adjective. When we meet people, we greet them. We greet them with the words like you're interesting, you're boring, smart, short, tall, etc. So, such words, the words that we use to describe a noun, is known as an adjective. So, adjectives are the words used to describe or modify a noun or a pronoun. Well, now we have understood why it is important to understand adjective, because adjectives are the words that are used to describe a noun. Well, now let's see what is degree. Degree means level. Level can be increased or level can be decreased depending upon the degree that you are using to compare the noun. We can increase or decrease the level of a noun by changing the degree of an adjective. So, these are the few things that you must know. What is an adjective? What is degree? Why we use the degree for an adjective? Now let's start. Now these are few examples of comparisons, that is degree of comparison: positive, comparative and superlative. Like for example, if sweet is the positive degree, we have sweeter, sweetest, then old, older, oldest, heavy, heavier, heaviest, good, better, best, bad, worse, worst, difficult, more difficult, most difficult. If important is positive degree, then more important is comparative. And so in superlative, we have the word as most important. These are just few examples of degrees of comparison. There are many more which you can study. Now, coming to the part where we actually need the type of questions that we get in exam, changing the degree without changing the meaning of the sentence. Now, let's understand, when do we use positive degree? Positive degree is used only when we use about one noun. That is, when we speak about only one person or thing, we use the positive degree. An adjective is said to be in the positive degree when there is no comparison. So, when we just talk about one noun, we are not comparing it, it is used in the positive form. Now, comparative degree is used when we are comparing one noun to the another noun. Let's say an adjective is said to be in the comparative degree when it is used to compare two nouns or pronoun. And the last one, the superlative, is used when we are comparing an adjective to an adjective is in the superlative degree when it is used to compare more than two nouns or pronouns. We use the article the before the superlative degree. So these are the three ways in which you can use the different degrees: the positive, the comparative, and the superlative degree. Now, the thing is that how to identify which is the positive degree, which is the comparative, and the superlative. Well, you can see that now this is the main thing where we actually get the question, like we have to transform the sentences. Now, whenever we have Now here you can see that this kind of words, when we have in center, you'll be having the adjective, and before that and after that, if you have as or as, then it is said to be in the positive degree. Second, when before the adjective you have than, the word than, then it is in the comparative degree. And for the superlative degree will always have the article the before it. So these are the three ways in which you can identify the 3 degrees. So it's very important, first of all, you identify the degrees: positive, comparative and superlative. Here is a chart which will help you to understand it in a better way. Now there are 3 types to change the sentences from one form to the other. Now first of all, we have to see how you have to identify the sentence. First, if you have so or as before the adjective and as after the adjective, it is called positive. When we have the word then before the adjective, it is called the comparative degree, and we have the before the superlative, it is called the superlative degree. Now here in this table you can see there are 2 ways how to change the sentences. For example, many times the students get confused during the exams when to frame the sentence in the positive degree, starting with no other, or when to use with very few. Now the table will help you to understand when to use which. Now for instance, let's see, if you get a sentence in the examination where the sentence is given in the superlative form, you have been asked to change into comparative and positive degree. Now first of all, you have to see that the superlative degree, whether in the superlative degree the sentence formation is just the before the superlative or it is one of the, it all depends upon this. If you have just the, that is this one before the superlative degree, to change into comparative you have to use than plus any or all other. And to change into positive degree, you can begin your sentence with no other or none. In the other case, that is type 2, if you have in the superlative degree, if you have one of the, if in the superlative sentence it's given one of the, then to change into comparative you have to use than. Of course than is important because without the word than you cannot show comparison, many or most other. And in the positive your sentence will begin with very few. So henceforth there should be no confusion when to begin your sentence with no other and when to begin your sentence with very few in the positive degree. It will depend. Now for example, it was a superlative. For example, if you have given in the examination the sentence given is comparative and you have been asked to change into positive and superlative. Now many students get confused when to start, like how to start the sentence. Should we start with no other or very few? It's very simple. When we see then plus any or all other, when you see this should be the sentence formation. Okay, and if you see then many or most other, your sentence should start with very few, and in the superlative it should be one of the. Okay, so it's very important that you understand the table because this table will help you to frame sentences. Now let's see just few examples. Okay, now let's see. Now I have a sentence: no other writer of our times is as successful as J.K. Rowling. Now see, note the use of expression no other in the case. Now when we have no other, now is, for example, the sentence given in positive, we have no other, definitely will follow the table. And to change into comparative we have to follow this rule, that is than plus any or all other. So we have over here, we can see, okay, okay, now see, Now see, the comparative degree, J.K. Rowling is more successful than, and you can see other, any other writer of our times. So note the use of the expression any other in this case, because the sentence in the positive degree began with no other, definitely. So in the comparative we have to use than, any other, or all other. And in the superlative it will be just simple, we have to use the before the superlative degree. J.K. Rowling is the most successful writer of our times. Okay, well, you can see that now in this case, for example, we began with the first sentence that was no other. But for example, if in the examination the question the sentence would have given J.K. Rowling is the most successful writer of our times. From this sentence we can see that it is just the, there is no one of the. So obviously to change to a positive degree we have to use no other, begin the sentence with no other, and in the comparative we can use then, any other, or all other, depends upon the sentence formation, sentence structure. Now let's see another example. Okay, no other boy in the class is as intelligent as James. Now again the sentence is beginning with no other. No other, definitely in the comparative it will be yes, then any or all other. Okay, we can see that we have used then, any other boy in the class. And in the superlative it will be very simple, just the before the superlative form. Okay, now let me help you with the sentence structure also. Let's see the sentence structure also. Okay, whenever, in other ways, whenever we have singular noun, another way to say that whenever we have singular noun, then only we are going to use no other. Like for example, no other, we are using the singular noun, verb as or so, plus positive degree as, plus noun or pronoun. So in other words, I can say that no other, your sentence in the positive degree will begin with no other or none only when we have this thing, singular noun over here, singular noun. You can see that over here, no other boy, boy is singular. In the previous example also it was J.K. Rowling, she was like a singular woman. So okay, singular noun. Now let's see few sentences with very few. Okay, now see, very few countries in the world are as large as China. Okay, now the sentence in the positive degree begins with very few. So definitely in the comparative we have to use then, plus many or most. Yes, China is larger than most other countries in the world. And of course in the superlative we have to follow the table, because if it's very few, definitely in the superlative it will be one of the largest countries in the world. Now the sentence structure, now over here you can see this. Okay, now over here, now see, it's plural noun. Whenever you have plural noun, like for example very few, okay, very few countries, now over here we are not saying countries. So whenever, in other words, we can say that whenever we have plural noun, a sentence in the positive degree should begin with very few, plural noun, plus verb as or so, plus positive degree, plus as, plus noun or pronoun. So students, with the help of this table, it's very simple that you should not get confused when to use no other or when to use very few. Just learn this. This is type 1, we can say type 1, no other, none. Then it's like any or all other, and just the in the superlative degree. But when we have very few, we have many or most, and in the superlative we have one of the. Okay, so either way you can remember with the table, or we can remember very few, we use plural noun, none other than we use singular noun. Okay, so this is the way to change the degree from one form to the other. Now let's see few more things. Okay, few more examples. Now we can see like very few Indian saints. Okay, now the sentence is beginning with very few. Of course, in the comparative we have to use many or most. We have used most other Indian saints, and of course in the superlative we have to use one of the. Okay, so another thing that you'll notice is, like I told you previously, with very few we have to use plural noun. So we have seen very few Indian saints. You can see saints, it's a plural noun. So very few is used when we have plural noun. Okay, plural noun. And if you are using very few, then of course in the comparative we have to use many or most, and of course in the superlative we have to use one of the. So this is the formation combination that we have to use in the examination. Like for example, if your sentence, if in the positive degree you are making the sentence with no other none, so make sure that you make the degree in sentence in the comparative degree with any or all other. You cannot frame the sentence with many or most, because it will be incorrect, because over here you can only frame sentence with no other none when we have singular noun. And with singular noun, if you use many or most, the sentence will be incorrect and your marks will be deducted. So remember the combination. We have no other none for singular noun. With that, in the comparative we use any or all other, and superlative it's just simple, just the article the before the superlative degree. Very few when we have proper noun. With very few in the comparative we use many or most other, and in the superlative it will be one of the. Okay, so the table will help you a lot. So whenever solving, or you can say like transforming the sentence, make use of the table in the beginning, and as you practice you will understand the table, and there will be no need for you to look every time in the table. So in the beginning make sure that you check the table every time when you transform the sentence. It will be very helpful for you. Okay, now let's see type 3. There's one more thing I haven't told you about. Now let's see the third one. Okay, now see, now look at this example. Mangoes are sweeter than apples. Mangoes are sweeter than apples. Now my sentence, of course we can see that it's sweeter than, of course than we have, so it is comparative. Okay, but if you notice in my sentence there is no any or all other, or neither many or most other. So this is type 3. When you have these type of sentences, okay, without the table, without the content given in the table, we have to follow a different rule. Now what is the rule for this thing? When we have two nouns being compared, okay, first rule is that you have to swap the two nouns. Swap the two nouns means that when you change, if the sentence is in the comparative degree, we have to make it in the positive degree. And remember, whenever the sentence is given this way, this example, this kind of example, okay, like for example, mangoes are sweeter than apples, we don't have any of these, you cannot transform this sentence into superlative. Transformation of superlative degree is impossible. You can only transform the sentence into superlative degree when you have this table, this combination. Now this sentence is different from the table, that is we don't have any of these any or all other. So this, in this way you can only transform, like the comparative degree can be transformed into positive, or the positive degree can be transformed to comparative. You cannot change into superlative degree. Okay, remember this thing. Now see, first, like I told you, swap the two nouns. That means mangoes over your subject, it will become the object. Apples, object, it will become the subject. Second thing, if the sentence is positive, that is affirmative, we have to make it negative. Now this is affirmative, okay? We have to use not. And remember, not is always added after the helping verb, and do not change the tense of the verb. Over here we have mangoes are, it's in the present tense because mangoes it's plural, that's why we have used the word, the helping verb are, okay? Mangoes are, always the helping verb will be used, not will be used after the helping verb, okay? And then we have mangoes are not as sweet as, will follow the same rule, that is this is because this we have to follow this thing because this is the identification of positive degree. So either as so before the adjective and as after it. So the positive degree of sweeter is sweet. So apples are not as sweet as mangoes. So remember students, when either the positive degree is given or the comparative degree is given, but if the sentence in the positive degree is not beginning with no other or very few, or in the comparative we don't have any or all other or many or most, the sentence formation is different. That is, we have to follow these rules, and in such cases formation of superlative degree is impossible. So let's take few more examples. Now Maria is not as intelligent as Sonia. Okay, now see, this is positive degree and it is in the negative form. So first of all we have to interchange the subject and the object, that is swap the two. Second rule, will remove the not, and third we have to change the degree, that will intelligent will become more intelligent. Okay, you can see this, we have done the transformation without changing the meaning, without changing the tense. Okay, you can see the subjects have been changed, not has been removed, intelligent has become more intelligent. Let's take another example. A cat runs as fast as a dog. Now over here we have two nouns, a cat, a dog. So their places will be swapped. That means the subject will become the object and the object will become the subject. And of course we don't have to change the tense, and it is in the positive degree, so we have to change it into comparative degree because the superlative degree is not possible, as we have studied earlier. See, a dog does not run faster than a cat. Okay, so these are the three ways. Like for example, just quickly tell you, the sentence can begin with the positive sentence can either begin with no other, none, or very few. And if it is not beginning with it, this is the third way we have to do it. And in the third way, this is like this one, you cannot form superlative degree. Only transformation can be done from positive to comparative and comparative to superlative. So make sure that you practice, watch the video, watch the table, and while solving the examples, go through the table. The table will be very helpful for you all. Okay, hope this lesson was knowledgeable and you enjoyed it thoroughly. Hope to get new lessons in the future. Till then, stay blessed, stay safe. Thank you.